Hey everyone, this is Niels with another tutorial for Cloud Manager, and this time I'm going to show you how to do the first start of your Cloud Connector. This requires you to having created the Cloud Provider and Cloud Connector, and if you haven't done so, please check out our other tutorials on those topics. Okay, but first we need to start our OpenVPN server, and in order to do that we go up here, select Azure 2 because that's the example cloud provider we're using in this tutorial. Click on Virtual Network Setup, and then we need to start the OpenVPN machine that is running the OpenVPN server. And in order to do that, we click on Start here, and that might take a moment to get the machine running, so we wait a few seconds. Awesome, it's done, we're running, and we can use this OpenVPN machine. We close this window here. Okay, so we need to start our OpenVPN client. In order to do that, we go to Start, OpenVPN, GUI, start this. Then we see this small icon down here in the taskbar. Double click it in order to start the client. Then we are connected. If it's green, we see the assigned IP. Okay, so now our OpenVPN client is running. It is connected to our virtual network in our cloud. Okay, and this is the Cloud Manager main view. We have this tab here, Azure Linux, which is the cloud connector that we've created before. And if you would have created more than one, those tabs would be shown up here, the same as this one. And then we see our Azure Linux virtual machines. 4 of those are shown here. And the reason we have 4 here is because our cluster size is set to 4. We can see that here. We have a VM size, which is standard D4v4. You can configure that in your Cloud Connector. The VM image is this one here. It's a pre-installed image from us. And then the name of the Cloud Connector is Azure Linux. Okay, and in order to get everything running, we first have to click the Connect button here. And the Connect button does not start the connector yet. It's more a loop that is running over all created cloud connectors, checks whether those machines are already existing. But for now, we see the API status here is still not created, so those machines aren't created yet. But we come to that in a second. So in order to create VM machines, we have to make sure that this button here, this checkbox is checked. The default is unchecked in order to prevent accidental VM creation, but now make sure this one is checked. And then we go to manual here, go one up here. So we are going to manually create one machine just for testing. And then we click also on manual here and go up to 1 so that we can start and stop one machine manually. And in order to start our connector, we go to this button here, which is called Activate Connector, and we click that now. And then we need to wait a few seconds in order to see that the log says, okay, will be created one machine and will be running one machine. You can see that here. It takes a bit, but we already see create VMs Azure Linux 000. So now up here, you can see the API status is created, now starting. So we already have an IP address assigned, a private IP address, so we can communicate with that machine. And now we are going to wait a little bit until the machine is started, and then we can see what is happening there. We should see next that the API status is running, and then the rr service config should be done and switched to yes. Okay, now we see the API status switched to running. So the machine should be running now, and then we wait for the service to be configured. That might also take a few seconds, so don't worry. And in the meantime, while the service is configuring and we're waiting for it, we can already, if it's running the API status, we can click write. And then you see a couple of entries here in the context menu. And since we are using Linux render clients here, we can SSH to the Azure Linux 000 machine by clicking this here. And then we need to accept the PuTTY alert here, which is just saying that we want to accept this key here. We connect, we use our user, and then we are connected to our machine and see that it is running. We can connect using SSH. We're not going to do any configuration here at the moment because that's done automatically. It was just more of a check that everything is running as expected. We can close this here. And now we can see in the meantime, we already have our timestamp of the configuration. So the service is configured, and the next step is that the raw render client will be started by the service on that render machine. Wait a few seconds. Okay, awesome. Now we've got feedback from the render client, and the machine is up and running, and everything is ready for receiving your render jobs. But for now, we've learned how to start up the OpenVPN server and connect with the OpenVPN client. We've learned how to set the manual VM creation and manual VM start and stop. And then we activated the connector, saw how the service has been configured. The client has sent its feedback. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time.